Hello, my sweet, sweet friends. Happy Friday. Welcome back to reading. I am so excited, you guys. I'm always excited when we're reading this book. I think I say that every time, but I absolutely love this book. I say that every time too, but that's okay. It's awesome to love books. I'm such a bookworm, so it's awesome to just love books and be excited about books. We are reading chapters 17 and 18 today. We are really getting close to the end. We still have quite a little bit to go, but we got some good stuff in chapter 17 and 18. I think I say that about every single chapter, but it's just because it's a good book. Hello. So we are going to go ahead and get started. I want you guys to remember that on Monday, you guys did the chapter scene with the labels. And I know that on Monday, I told you that on Friday, today, you would be doing another chapter scene and you would be telling me in sentences about that scene. So I want you guys to just keep that in mind, that a part of your assignment is to create your chapter scene as usual, do the beautiful drawings that you've been doing, along with writing sentences to tell me about the scene. And I'll go more in depth at the end of the read aloud, but I kind of just wanted to remind you guys so that you'll be like, ooh, hey, I probably should get a piece of paper and pencil before she starts, and kind of just make some notes, if anything. Now, guys, I have not taught you how to make notes, and I am not sure if any of your previous teachers had taught you how to properly take notes. Just do whatever, draw something on a piece of paper. If you have an idea, pause the video, draw it really quick on the piece of paper so that you can make it all beautiful later. Just do whatever you need to do to help you with writing your sentences later or drawing your picture later. It's not, I mean, you can always come back. That's the cool thing, and I know I referred to it last time, that you can just pause this video and rewatch this video. You can't pause real life if I'm doing a read aloud in real life. So take advantage of the fact that you are watching it through a video, and pause the video when you need to take notes, rewind if you need to hear it again, do whatever you need to do, okay? Take advantage. So chapter 17, if you guys remember that at the end of chapter 16, Opal was in dire need to find out the end of Litmus W. Block's story. So here we go. Let's get into it. Well, Litmus came home from the war, said Miss Franny as she went on with her story, and found himself alone, and he sat down on what used to be the front step of his house, and he cried and cried. He cried just like a baby. He missed his mama, he missed his daddy, and he missed his sisters, and he missed the boy he used to be. When he finally finished crying, he had the strangest sensation. He felt like he wanted something sweet. He wanted a piece of candy. He hadn't had a piece of candy in years. And it was right then that he made a decision. Yes, ma'am. Litmus W. Block figured the world was a sorry affair and that he had enough ugly things in it, and what he was going to do was concentrate on putting something sweet in it. He got up and started walking. He walked all the way to Florida, and the whole time he was walking, he was planning. Planning what? I asked. Why, planning the candy factory. Did he build it? I asked. Of course he did. It's still standing out there on Fairville Road. That old building? Said Amanda. That big spooky one? It is not spooky, Miss Franny. It was the birthplace of the family fortune. It was there that my great-grandfather manufactured the Litmus lozenge, a candy that was famous the world over. I've never heard of it, said Amanda. Me neither, I said. Well, said Miss Franny, there aren't made anymore. The world, it seems, lost appetite for Litmus lozenges, but I still happen to have a few. She opened the top drawer of her desk. It was full of candy. She opened the drawer below that. It was also full of candy. Miss Franny Black's whole desk was full of candy. Would you care for a litmus lozenge? She asked Amanda and me. Yes, please, said Amanda. Sure, I said. Can Winn-Dixie have one too? I have never known a dog that cared for hard candy, said Miss Franny. But he is welcome to try one. Miss Franny gave Amanda one litmus lozenge and me two. I unwrapped one and held it out to Winn-Dixie. He sat up and sniffed it and wagged his tail and took the candy from between my fingers real gentle. He tried to chew on it, and when that didn't work, he just swallowed the whole thing in one big gulp. Then he wagged his tail at me and laid back down. I ate my litmus lozenge slow. It tasted good. It tasted like root beer and strawberry and something else I didn't have a name for. Something that made me feel kind of sad. I looked over at Amanda. She was sucking on her candy and thinking hard. Do you like it? Miss Franny asked me. Yes, ma'am, I told her. What about you, Amanda? Do you like the litmus lozenge? Yes, ma'am, she said. But it makes me think of things I feel sad about. I wondered what in the world Amanda Wilkinson had to feel sad about. She wasn't new to town. She had a mama and a daddy. I had seen her with them at church. There's a secret ingredient in there, Miss Franny said. I know it, I told her. I can taste it. What is it? Sorrow, Miss Franny said. Not everybody can taste it. Children especially seem to have a hard time knowing it's there. I taste it, I said. Me too, said Amanda. Well then, Miss Franny said, you've probably both had your share of sadness. I had to move away from Watley and leave all my friends, I said. That is one sadness I have had. And Dunlap and C.V. Dewberry are always picking on me. That's another sadness. And the biggest one, my biggest sadness, is that my mama left me when I was still small. And I can hardly remember her. I keep hoping I'll get to meet her and tell her some stories. It makes me miss Carson, said Amanda. She sounded like she was going to cry. I have to go. And she got up and almost ran out of the Herman W. Block Memorial Library. Who's Carson? I asked Franny. She shook her head. Sorrow, she said. It is a sorrow-filled world. But how do you put that in a piece of candy? I asked her. How do you get that taste in there? That's the secret, she said. That's why Litmus made a fortune. He made a piece of candy that tasted sweet and sad at the same time. Can I have a piece to take to my friend Gloria Dump? And another one to take to Otis down at Gertrude's Pets? And one to the preacher? And one for Sweetie Pie too? You may have as many as you want, said Miss Franny. So I stuffed my pockets full of litmus lozenge, and I thanked Miss Franny for her story, and I checked out Gone with the Wind, which was a very big book. And I told Winn-Dixie to get up, and the two of us left and went over to Gloria Dump's. I rode right past the Dewberry's house. Dunlap and Stevie were playing football in the front yard, and I was just getting ready to stick my tongue out at them. But then I thought about what Miss Franny said, about war being awful. And I thought about what Gloria Dump said, about not judging them too hard. And so I waved instead. They stood and stared at me, but then I was almost all the way past. I saw Dunlap put his hand up in the air and wave back. Hey! He hollered. Hey, Opal! I waved harder, and I thought about Amanda Wilkinson and how it was neat that she liked a good story the same as I did. And I wondered again, who was Carson? End of chapter 17. So Opal is really learning some valuable lessons as of lately, and I just want you to take a second and in a minute pause the video and think about a time that you learned a good lesson. I want you to think about a time that you learned a good lesson. So just kind of like how Opal has, how she's learning that, oh, well, maybe I should just give him a chance. Oh, so go ahead and pause the video and take a minute to think about that. I'm going to go ahead and continue. So by thinking of a good lesson that you have learned, you are making a text to self connection. You are taking what you are reading in the book and making a connection with yourself. Chapter 18. When we got to Gloria Dumps, I told her I had 2 surprises for her and asked which one she wanted first, the small one or the big one. The small one, said Gloria. I handed her the litmus lozenge and she moved it around in her hands, feeling it. Candy? She said. Yes, ma'am, I told her. It's called a litmus lozenge. Oh, Lord, yes, I remember these candies. My daddy used to eat them. She unwrapped the litmus lozenge and put it in her mouth and nodded her head. Do you like it? I asked her. Mm-hmm. She nodded her head slowly. It tastes sweet, but it also tastes like people leaving. You mean sad? I asked. Does it taste like sorrow to you? That's right, she said. It tastes sorrowful, but sweet. Now, what's surprise number 2? A book, I said. A book? Uh-huh. I said, I'm going to read it out loud to you. It's called Gone with the Wind. Miss Franny says it's a good book. It's about the Civil War. Do you know all about the Civil War? I have heard it mentioned a time or two, said Gloria, nodding her head and sucking on the litmus lozenge. It's going to take us a long time to read this book, I told her. There are 1,037 pages. Whoo-hoo-wee, said Gloria. She leaned back in her chair and crossed her hands on her stomach. We best get started then. And so the first chapter of Gone with the Wind out loud to Gloria Dunn. I read it loud enough to keep her ghost away, and Gloria listened to it good. And when I was done, she said it was the best surprise she had ever had, and she couldn't wait to hear chapter 2. That night, I gave the preacher his litmus lozenge right before he kissed me goodnight. What's this? He said. It's some candy that Miss Franny's great-grandfather invented. It's called a litmus lozenge. The preacher unwrapped it and put it in his mouth, and after a minute, he started rubbing his nose and nodding his head. Do you like it? I asked. It has a peculiar flavor. Root beer, I said. Something else. Strawberry? That too, but there's still something else. It's odd. I could see the preacher getting further and further away. He was hunching up his shoulders and lowering his chin and getting ready to pull his head into his shell. Excuse me. It almost tastes a little melancholy, he said. Melancholy? What's that? Sad, said the preacher. He rubbed his nose. It makes me think of your mother. Winn-Dixie sniffed at the candy wrapper in the preacher's hand. It tastes sad, he said. Sighed. It must be a bad batch. No, I told him. I sat up in bed. That's the way it's supposed to taste. Litmus came back from the war and his whole family was dead. His daddy died fighting and his mama and his sisters died from a disease and the Yankees burned his house down. And Litmus was sad, very sad, and what he wanted more than anything in the world was something sweet. So he built a candy factory and made Litmus lozenge, and he put all the sad he was feeling into the candy. My goodness, said the preacher. Winn-Dixie snuffed the candy wrapper out of the preacher's hand and started chewing on it. Give me that, I said to Winn-Dixie, but he wouldn't give it up. I had to reach inside his mouth and pull it out. You can't eat candy wrappers, I told him. The preacher cleared his throat. I thought he was going to say something important, maybe telling me another thing that he remembered about my mama, but what he said was, Opal, I had a talk with Miss Dewberry the other day. She said that Stevie says that you called him a bald-headed baby. It's true, I said. I did, but he calls Gloria Dump a witch all the time, and he calls Otis silly. And once he even said that his mama said I shouldn't spend all my time with old ladies. That's what he said. I think you should apologize, said the preacher. Me? I said. Yes, he said. You. You tell Stevie you're sorry if you said anything that hurt his feelings. I'm sure he just wants to be your friend. I don't think so, I told him. I don't think he wants to be my friend. Some people have a strange way of going about making friends, he said. You should apologize. Yes, sir, I said. Then I remembered Carson. Excuse me? Daddy, I said, do you know anything about Amanda Wilkinson? What kind of thing? Do you know something about her and some boy named Carson? Carson was her brother. He drowned last year. He's dead? Yes, said the preacher. His family is still suffering a great deal. How old was he? 5, said the preacher. He was only 5 years old. Daddy, I said, how could you not tell me about something like that? Other people's tragedies should not be subject of ideal conversation, Opal. There was no reason for me to tell you. It's just that I needed to know, I said, because it helps explain Amanda. No wonder she's so pinched-faced. What's that? Said the preacher. Nothing, I said. Good night, India Opal, the preacher said. He leaned over and kissed me, and I smelled the root beer and the strawberry and the sadness all mixed together on his breath. He patted Winn-Dixie on the head and got up and turned off the light and closed the door. I didn't go to sleep right away. I lay there and thought how life was like a litmus lozenge. How the sweet and the sad were all mixed up together and how hard it was to separate them out. It was confusing. Daddy, I shouted. After a minute, he opened the door and raised his eyebrows at me. What was that word you said? The word that meant sad? Melancholy, he said. Melancholy, I repeated. I liked the way it sounded, like there was music hidden somewhere inside it. Good night now, the preacher said. Good night, I told him back. I got up out of bed and unwrapped a litmus lozenge and sucked on it hard and thought about my mama leaving. That was a melancholy feeling. And then I thought about Amanda and Carson, and that made me feel melancholy too. Poor Amanda. And poor Carson. He was the same age as Sweetie Pie, but he would never get to have his 6th birthday. End of chapter 18. So, like at the end of chapter 17, we see that Opal is really starting to develop. She's learning all these very grown-up lessons, it seems. She's learning a lot, and she's experiencing a lot, and she's experiencing a lot of feelings, and it's an amazing text to self connection that we can all make, because we've all felt amazing, well, not really amazing, but we've felt these happy feelings, we've felt these sad feelings, we have felt all different types of feelings, and Opal is going through every single one of them and learning a lesson over each thing that she feels. So I encourage you to keep thinking about those text to self connections as we move forward, and as you recall these 2 chapters, if you ever need to rewind it and play it again. For your assignment, so as usual, just like the past 2 times that you have made, past 3 times technically now, the past 3 times that you have made a chapter scene, at first you were just making me a picture, and then on Monday you made me a picture with labels on it, you know, kind of indicating me what was what so that I can help understand it. Well, now you're going to be writing me sentences. So you're going to write me about 3 to 5 sentences about what is going on in the book. Now, here's the thing is that I would really like it if these sentences were in your own words. I do not want you saying, I don't want you typing out what I said from the book. I want it to be in your own words. Okay. So use your own words when you're creating your 3 to 5 sentences over the chapter scene. So you will draw the chapter scene and then you will write sentences that match the chapter scene, so that as if I didn't read these chapters to you, I would be able to tell, oh, okay, it's a scene for Because of Winn-Dixie. That's Opal. That's Winn-Dixie. That's the preacher. And they're at bedtime. And I can be able to tell what exactly the scene is. Okay. You guys are continuing to practice and build your knowledge for summary. Now we're going to go more into summary next week, but I'm just trying to give you a small base to stand on for now. So if you guys have any questions over your assignment or just any questions about what you should do, or you need help with your chapter scene, just, you know where to find me, guys. I gotta go turn my light on now. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.